Hello, I'm Burt Green and this is the Burt Locker MMA show, sports, just general chit chat, all that kind of thing. This one is particularly focused on UFC London that took place at the weekend, a recap of all of that, where some of the fighters are going to go next, who the fighters to make next after who the wins and losses. Also a little bit of MMA news, we've got some fights that have been made, some matchups just this past week, so we'll get into all of that. Let's get cracking. So UFC London, the biggest takeaway from that event was the new merch that I got. This might be my new favourite fight t-shirt, honestly. My favourite piece of MMA merchandise. It's got the old school fight poster kind of theme to it. It's got all the fights listed on there. It's in white. It's a medium. I can still fit into a medium, baby. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's good. Outstanding t-shirt. Possibly my favourite one. Outside of the brilliant merchandise, I've got to say, the atmosphere at the event was fantastic because me and my mate managed to get tickets pretty late on. I would say that it's definitely worth doing, guys. If you struggle to get them when they went on sale, just have a quick look on resale sites the day before the event. Snap up a bargain, because a lot of the times they sell out because all the tickets get sold. But who do they get sold to? They get shifted to these ticket resale sites, don't they? And a lot of the time, they're not going to shift all of them. So you can grab a bargain on like the day before the event. And the atmosphere was cracking. There isn't really a bad seat in the house, like a UFC event, because they're in these small arenas. It's why these larger kind of football stadium arenas don't possibly work nearly as well, because they talk about those quite a lot. Why don't you do like Wembley Stadium or whatever? It's like, look, if you're sitting at the back at Wembley Stadium, and you're looking at that little cage, yeah, that's going to be a terrible seat. But actually, these little kind of 20,000 indoor stadiums, you're never that far away from the action. You can still see everything that's going on. Yeah, the atmosphere was brilliant. We were quite lucky. We were sat near. Everyone that was sitting there were just fight fans, nice guys. Just literally everyone just chatting about fights, you know, making predictions. No one getting nasty. No one getting, you know, just people having a damn good time. Just, oh, who do you think's got this one? This one by such and such. You know what I mean? My prediction that Molly was getting submitted, because she was a heavy favourite in that. Well, I say a heavy favourite. She was a heavy favourite before people started betting. Then the lines did even up a little bit. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. I'll cover that in the results. So my biggest takeaways from the performances, I thought that decision going the other way was a surprise. I haven't rewatched that fight yet. I'll have to rewatch it because I had a few beers and I was watching live, you know, just enjoying the atmosphere and enjoying that fight. Actually, I thought David Grant, in my mind, I thought David Grant pressed the action quite a lot, and the other guy was being quite evasive, or timid. If I could throw that out. Either way, I thought Davey Grant won that one relatively convincingly. As soon as the bell went, I was like, right, Grant's won that, lovely job. I needed to get another pint, so I went and got another pint, and these guys behind me, when I was getting my beers, it's just like, oh, I can't believe that decision. I was like, what do you mean? Grant clearly was like, no, they gave it to the other dude. I was like, what? What are you talking about? That is crazy, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so that sucks for Davey Grant. It was a good fight, though. I'll need to go back and rewatch it before I don't ever like throwing the term robbery around. It did go to a decision, so maybe it was closer than I thought. So, yeah. Paul Craig, phenomenal. Standout performance of the night, that one. It was just superb. I mean, even when it went to the ground, you could see Muniz was getting quite frustrated with how good this Scottish guy was on the ground. We all knew that anyway, but then, yeah, the standing, as I thought, Paul Craig's standing was better. That was the only single bet that came off for me that night, because it was 11-1 to get the TKO, and I was like, these guys are both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys. Often when you get two guys that are so good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu clashing, they will slug it out, and that's more or less what happened. And then, yeah, I do like the Bo Nickel call-out since the fight. Paul Craig has made a call out for Bo Nickel. I think that's a very good fight. I think that fight makes sense, because actually, on the feet, you know, that's anyone's game, really. I'm not, because we haven't seen enough of Bo Nickel on the feet to say whether he's outstanding or whether he was just good against that one guy. But I don't think that Paul Craig's going to fear the takedown nearly as much as most people do, because what he said makes sense. He just said, look, at the end of the day, like, he better be good at passing guard because I'm good at retaining guard. And it's like, I think that's fair. That's a fair comment. Paul Craig is very good at retaining guard. So Bo Nickel better be good at passing guard. And you know what? I think Bo Nickel is quite good at passing guard. But for me, that's a fight that makes sense because you're struggling to get the lower down guys that want to take a fight with Bo Nickel because he's destroying everybody. And now you've got this guy who's in the rank. He's going to be in the rankings now, surely at middleweight, because he's ranked at light heavyweight. And then he comes in and beats Andre Muniz, who was ranked as far as I'm aware. And now you've got this. If you want to give Bo Nickel a ranked opponent, there's only one ranked guy that I've seen mentioning Bo Nickel's name, and his name is Paul Craig, which is a ballsy call out, and I like it. And stylistically, I quite like it as well. Let's just see how good Paul Craig's guard retention is. Let's see how good Bo Nickel's passing is. I'm interested to see it. Make that fight happen. Make it happen. Meatball Molly is in danger of becoming a meatball sub. Sorry, that relates to a meme that I'm going to be showing you later. Because, yeah, she got submitted again. I thought that she would. And because I was saying to a couple of the guys in our section, they were like, oh, but you know, Molly's fighting an absolute tin can. I was like, no, she's not. She's fighting someone who's an absolute specialist at grappling. And Molly has struggled with grapplers in the past. Molly is probably dropping a decision, probably an armbar. And the guy was like, no. I was like, I mean, you know what? It could. It's MMA. Anything can happen. I'm saying my prediction is an armbar for Stoliarenko. And yeah. Like literally, everyone just looked at me afterwards like, how do you know that? I was like, well, I do some research. You know what I mean? I'm not. It's very hard to predict these fights. It is, but sometimes it's just that it wasn't so much that I didn't have faith in Molly. It's just that we've seen her struggle against Blanchfield, and it's a similar kind of fight. Someone who's good at grappling, who can submit you, who's a lot bigger. Now, it's hard to feel too bad for Molly, honestly, because I feel like the way that she carries herself, the way that she behaves sometimes, it doesn't make her massively endearing to me. The way that she's shoving her forehead into her opponent's face at the weigh-ins, there's no need for that really. You know, because obviously Paul Craig, he's standing nose to nose with Andre Muniz, but they're both kind of standing like staring each other down. Whereas you could tell that Molly's opponent didn't really want to do that kind of physical stare down stuff, and she kind of forces it on people. And it's like when she got that big knockout, yeah, okay, it was a big knockout, but she was fighting somebody who was like who's basically a prelim level fighter, and then she grabs a belt and starts parading around with that. It's like. It's like Chael Sonnen, but not nearly as likeable. Because the thing is, it's a similar thing with Juliana Pena. Maybe I'm just a sexist. Who knows? But no, I don't think it. Because I just don't know. I'm trying to think of. See, the thing is, I quite liked Ronda Rousey when she would do it. But yeah, for me, the problem is with Juliana Pena and also with Molly McCann, I feel like they really believe all the things that like they're saying and like the way they're acting. Whereas Chael Sonnen, at least you kind of knew that it was tongue in cheek. You knew it was. You knew that like he didn't necessarily believe everything that he was saying. He was doing it for entertainment purposes. Whereas I think that to a certain extent, you know, Molly McCann and Pena, they're coming across as absolute narcissistic knobheads because they might well be. You don't know, do you? I don't know. That's just my take. I find it hard to feel bad for somebody who behaves that way before a fight is kind of arrogant. Because you can be very confident in your skill set and you can project confidence without being an arrogant arsehole. Have a look at what Tom Aspinall did. We'll get to that in a moment. So, speaking of Tom Aspinall, big Tom Aspinall, what can you say? What a performance. Absolutely sensational performance. He did it quicker than I could have imagined. And yeah, Tybura's a top-class guy as well. So yeah, that's how you get back on track. That's how you show everybody, look, I might have injured my knee, but I am now here. I'm back, you know. Back, baby. And his whole post-fight speech as well was absolutely brilliant. And again, take note, you can be confident and entertaining, but without being a complete arse about it. Do you know what I mean? He's very good at doing that because he just said, look, I'm going to be going to Paris. I'm going to be front row for Gant versus Spivak. I'm going to fight the winner of that, and then I'm going to beat John Jones. And you know what? Going from his performances, you got to say he's probably got a chance. He's got at least a chance. I don't think that John Jones is taking Aspinall down and submitting him the way he did to Gant. Aspinall's phenomenally good on the ground, and on the feet he's just so fast. He's just so fast. For a heavyweight should not be able to move like that, especially not a heavyweight who's as big as Tom Aspinall. He's not like a small heavyweight, is he? Do you know what I mean? He's 6'5" and 250 odd pounds. That's not a small heavyweight. So yeah, I am just looking forward. The future is very bright for English mixed martial arts, especially with Tom Aspinall there. Is absolutely fantastic. Loved it. So my bets overall, I missed 3 on the ACCA. That was the 17,000 to 1 ACCA, which is not the worst result, honestly. I am getting closer on these ones. I only missed by 1 at UFC 290. So I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. One day, one of these is going to come in. One day. But it probably won't be soon or ever. But it might. You never know. And I missed on, I did have a treble on submission for Stylenko, submission, TKO knockout for Paul Craig, and also had a submission for Tom Aspinall. So as you can imagine, I was standing there in the stands screaming for him to jump to a guillotine when he had Tybura rocked on the floor. But I mean, obviously the easier option is just to smack him in the face. But yeah, that would have been a nice 240 to 1 shot coming in. But you know what? That's why they're 240 to 1. One of those things will fail. Without fail. The only thing that is for certain is one of those things ain't going to happen. But yeah, it's all in the name of fun. Keep the stakes low, keep the odds on, keep the bets terrible. That's what I always say. So yeah, I'm going to move on to the news now. Just before I do that, if you enjoy this content, hit subscribe. Just it helps out the channel, and if you enjoy the content, then surely you want to help me out. So just hit subscribe, comment, let me know what you thought of the results at the weekend. Let me know who you think should fight each other next. I'm always interested to read them, not the abusive ones. I don't really get that many abusive ones. People don't care enough. It's a shame, really. Anyway. Moving on, biggest matchup that we've seen announced recently is it's going to be Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev, UFC 294, I believe. So look, that's a better fight than the fight that Costa was going to be in Askarov. I think he was fighting Askarov. Either way, the guy that he was fighting initially, it's not somebody that I'm super aware of. It's somebody definitely his name rang a bell, but it's not like that fight does nothing for Costa if he wins it. Does 0, but it destroys him a bit if he loses it. So a Khamzat fight is much better for Costa, and I believe it's much better for Khamzat actually as well. So Khamzat, he's going to need to be on his A game with this one, because look, he's looked really good against like an unprepared like Kevin Holland. But no, but remember, like his fight against Burns, he really got, I don't want to say found out, but he definitely got made to look very, very human against Gilbert Burns. So against somebody, look, don't get me wrong, I think Costa has been vastly overrated for most of his career. I think that his biggest win was against Johnny Hendricks, who's not a middleweight, he was a welterweight and won at the end of his career at that. In the fight against Yoel Romero, that could have gone either way. That really could have, like, the judges could have given that to either of them. Good fight, fun fight. Anyone that can be that competitive with Yoel Romero is impressive. But let's not pretend it was like a statement win. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't that. And then he got thrown straight into the title fight. Obviously, he got destroyed by Adesanya in that one. And then he fights Marvin Vettori, misses weight by like, what, 10 pounds or something stupid like that. And then says that, I mean, don't get me wrong, Costa is funny. He's a great personality because he sits there in the interviews with when he's missed weight by like 10 pounds. And Vettori's, oh, that's so professional. He's like, that's your problem. It's like, not really, but okay. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I don't know. Like Costa saying that he had too much wine the night before he fought Adesanya, so that was why he lost. It's like, put down the wine. I don't know. I like Costa. I like his personality. I think that his abilities were vastly overrated. I think he's got the right look more than anything. He looks monstrous, and so that's why he kind of got pushed to where he is. Look, a win here should not mean a title fight for Khamzat Chimaev, but it probably will. But I don't think that it's going to be a walkover for Chimaev. It's going to be because the middleweights they're slightly different to the ones that he'd fought previously. So yeah. Anyways, and then in the Ultimate Fighter news, we've got spoiler alert. Okay, if you haven't seen last week's Ultimate Fighter episode, don't watch this bit. Just skip on, whatever, because I'm about to spoil it. But Conor managed to stop the clean sweep, which I thought he was going to struggle, because look, fair play, Conor finally got one, because I will say that whole clean sweep, it had it had much more to do with the way the show has been set up this season than anything to do with Conor's coaching. At this point, they're already coached. There's only so much that, like, you know, the fighters can do to help these, like, prospects in such a short time frame. It's not Conor's coaching at all. They're trying to make out like, oh, Conor's this terrible coach, and that's what. No, that's got nothing to do with it. It's the fact they did it prospects against UFC veterans, because those UFC veterans, they're not like old. None of them are old. None of them are like older than like 30 foot. They're all in their mid 30s. Some of them are late 20s. They've just been in the UFC and have been cut. So they know what it takes to get into the UFC. They've been around for a long time, and you're putting them against these prospects that have never seen the UFC level of competition. Of course the veterans were going to win. Of course they were. I'm surprised it wasn't a clean sweep. Like, the veterans should be winning all of those. So yeah, it was all to do with the way the show was set up. It had nothing to do with Conor's coaching ability. If Conor had picked the veterans, he'd have clean swept Chandler. Do you know what I mean? That literally, the coaching has zero to do with it. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that Conor actually got one back there. I'm wondering, it's going to be interesting next week to see what happens, because they might have to put a couple of Chandler's guys over to train with Conor, and Conor has been really rubbing them the wrong way, because he's team here today, gone tomorrow, that kind of thing. So a few of those guys are not very happy with him. I would be shocked if they didn't send over the one that trains at SBG Island anyway. I forget what his name is, the one with the glasses. He's a favourite to win the whole thing, but he trains at SBG Island anyway, so he will probably go over to Conor. I don't know how the rest of them will feel about that, but that's going to be on Tuesday. Quite looking forward to seeing how it all turns out. And then my troll of the week, I mentioned it earlier. There's only one that could possibly happen this week, and it's just on one side you've got a Meatball sub, and on the other side you've got Meatball Molly being subbed, which is fair. It's harsh but fair. So yeah, Meatball subbed, Meatball sub, Meatball subbed. There you go. Anyway, nice and topical, that one, because the fights were last week. So anyway, I'll be doing, obviously we've got the big fight this week, Salt Lake City, Dustin Poirier against Justin Gaethje, and obviously you've got the co-main event. I don't know if it's for the title or not. There seems to be differing opinions, but Jan Blachowicz against Alex Pereira. Really fun fight card. I'll be doing a casuals guide, previewing the entire thing. I'll be doing some deep dives as well, and obviously some terrible bets. That's all later on in the week. So if you could hit subscribe, hit the bell notification if you want to know when those videos are up. And until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.